Hey, my name is Ryan, and today I'm doing a long-term update on my Viberg service boots. They're built on the 2030 LAS, and they feature brown Chromexel leather. Now that I've really seen these worn in, I feel like I can give my honest opinion if they're really worth that high price. We're going to show some on-feet shots so you can see what they would look like on your feet if you purchase them. And I'm also going to discuss the infamous Chromexel Lottery, what I think of that saying and what I really think we should replace it with. So if you're interested in Viberg service boots and you want to see them compared to different brands, I'll be doing that in the future, so please subscribe. But thank you so much for clicking and enjoy the video. Before we do a deep dive into these boots, I just want to mention, these aren't their stitch down construction. I got these when I wasn't really a big fan of stitch down construction, especially the double row stitch down construction. I just thought it looked like a big white outline. I didn't think it was really attractive. I've come around on that, but before I've come around, I prefer just a Goodyear welted boot, especially because of how much easier it is to get this resoled at a normal cobbler. So this isn't their stitch down. It is their Goodyear welted boot built on the day-night sole, but I think this is still a good boot to compare to other really popular brands, especially brands that don't have a stitch down version. And they're still Vibergs. They're still Vibergs through and through. So now that I've seen these really break in, I feel like I can give you my honest opinion on if they're worth that crazy a price range. So let's jump into the boot, and then at the end I'll tell you if I really think it's worth it. All right, so here's a close-up of my Viberg service boots. Now, I didn't condition them. These have just been worn, brushed lightly, but there's gonna be dirt. I haven't cleaned them or conditioned them. You're really seeing just like the true look of how these are after they've been worn in pretty well. So first we'll start on the bottom and the day-night sole. So the day-night is a name brand sole. They're a good sole. The stitching is really, really nice and tight. But one thing, beyond just how nice and tight the stitching is how well the thread is holding up. With a lot of shoes, sometimes this thread starts to, come apart pretty quick. So it's just telling me that Viberg is using some amazing thread. I don't know what they're using, honestly, but it really has held up fantastically over time. And again, it's just part of the high quality aspect of the boot. And then having the name brand sole is nice. And of course we come to the heel stack, which is just a veg tan leather heel stack. So that's great too. I mean, it's obviously what we would expect. Then the midsole. So the midsole, if you can see that, it's a pretty thick midsole. I don't know exactly how thick, but it's thicker than a normal midsole on a Grant Stone boot. But it is just a really thick, it gives you a lot of support. So a nice midsole there. And then this welt here, which I know a lot of you guys will be looking at their stitch down construction boots, but the welt is just perfect. The stitching is just flawless. And then the joint, I mean, look how well that joint is between the welt and the heel rand. It's just unbelievably good. The stitching's amazing too. As you notice, the panels all look very nice. The leather panels of the Chromexel. We're gonna talk about that a little bit and just how well the panels were picked out for this boot and the other Viberg boots that I've seen. The upper stitching is just fantastic too. You have a veg tan leather heel counter, so that's really nice. It's nice and broken in. And one thing I just love about Viberg boots, I want to talk about that heel a little bit. So some people, I really feel, think that the heel needs to just totally hold on. The heel counter needs to totally hold on to the heels so you don't have heel slip. But what I think is more critical, it's nice to have a well-fitting heel, that's true, but it's this curve right here, because that's what really locks it in. So if this curve is built into the boot, built into the design, what happens is the heel won't slip up. Now in a straight off boot, like the Red Wing Iron Ranger, your heel can just pop up. So you have to have it really tight at the heel. But it's so well designed that this doesn't need to be just gripping your heel very tight. That curve right here, when the boot's cinched down, helps keep it locked in so you don't have a lot of heel slip. So that's fantastic. The insole, which I can't show you because just with the lighting and everything, just a nice veg tan insole. The hardware, there's not much to say about the hardware because it just has these 7 eyelets, and then it is a gusseted tongue. With this gorgeous Chromexel leather. When I really do like Chromexel leather. I know you can get Chromexel on less expensive boots. I mean, I think at one point Thursday even sold Chromexel leather on their Captains. I don't think they do anymore, but I mean, that's a $200 boot that had Chromexel, so how could an $800 boot with Chromexel be really worth it? Well, I'll give you my final verdict on if I think these are worth it. But while we're talking about the boot, let's talk about the last. So the 2030 last is just a fantastic last. I think it's such a well-designed last. It gives you that service boot look that I think Thursday and some other companies were really trying to copy. I think they've just beautifully designed the last. It's just really pretty too. It's just such a nice looking last from the top down. I think it looks great. It's just what you want in a service boot. And I know that's kind of pretty vague, but they've done a great job at designing a service boot. And the one thing I will say, as compared to like the True Balance last with Alden Indies, that last seems to me to kind of curve a little bit more. So while this is more straight, can you see that? It's just like a straight last, while the True Balance last kind of curves, which they say is more anatomically correct. But for my foot, this last is a lot more comfortable. The 2030 last on Viberg being a little bit more straight on, my foot doesn't kind of curve a lot. And then the arch support is just fantastic. You're gonna get a built-in arch support in the boot, just with the leather insole, the midsole and everything, and the shank, but then having that last that kind of comes underneath your arch and supports it, makes it feel really good also. So I know it's expensive, but if you can get your hands on some Vibergs, if you're a boot or shoe nerd, I think it's just a boot to try out, at least even for a time, because they're just a special boot. Let's talk about sizing for a moment. And sizing with Viberg can be a little bit complicated. And the reason is because they're built in Canada, so they use the UK size method, and they're true to size that way. So that's a little bit confusing, because a size 12 in the UK method would be a size 13 US. How I size in these is I'm a 13D Brannock device US. True to size would be a 12 UK sizing. So that's what these are. So if you don't want to deal with that conversion, basically you can just take a full size down from your Brannock device, or a half size down from your Brannock if you have wide feet, and you should be good with Viberg. I know that's complicated. It's just a little bit overcomplicated because of the UK sizing. But like I said, just take your standard US Brannock device and go a full size down from that when you order online, unless you have wide feet, and do a half a size. And then you're getting Viberg, which are true to size UK sizing. So I know that's super complicated, but that's the size guide for these 2030 Vibergs. Now I kind of want to talk about the infamous Chromexel Lottery. Basically, if you're new to Goodyear welted boots or high quality boots, what the Chromexel Lottery is, what you'll have sometimes with Chromexel is loose grain, and it's really unattractive. Happens a lot on the shaft of a boot. You may have some loose grain, and it just kind of looks like the top layer is peeling off of the leather. So here's my opinion. I hate the name Chromexel Lottery. What we should name it is Loose Grain Lottery. And these boots prove that. Not just these, but Viberg boots. Because what I believe is that most leathers could have loose grain, and it's really up to the maker to make sure he's not putting that loose grain in their boot. And it comes down to the clicking of the boot. You can imagine, as they have the leather hide on the table, they are going to click the different parts, and what that means is they're cutting out the different parts of the boot. And a skilled artisan, he'll be able to tell what parts of that hide are more susceptible to loose grain. And all the boots that I've seen come from Viberg that use Chromexel, they don't have loose grain, which tells me that they're skilled enough to be able to see what parts of the hide are prone to it. And that's why I really don't like the name Chromexel Lottery, because what it makes you think of, it makes you think that Chromexel is going to be sometimes really good or sometimes bad. And it has nothing to do with Chromexel. A lot of leathers can have loose grain. I've had a pair of Allen Edmonds calfskin with loose grain. I've had a pair of Alden boots, not their Indy, that's the Chromexel, with their calfskin version that had loose grain. I've had a lot of different shoes that have had loose grain, and it's the maker's fault. It's not Chromexcel's fault. What I think is happening here, Chromexcel is so popular. So there's just so many different boots and shoes that feature Chromexcel. So because of that, there's just more of an opportunity to have loose grain on a Chromexcel boot or shoe. So we think that it's an inherited problem with Chromexcel. Well, that's not the case. Let's make an initiative. Let's call it the Loose Grain Lottery, because it can happen to a lot of different brands and tanneries. And we not make it like this negative on Chromexcel that comes out of the Horween Tannery. Now, I'm a big fan of the Horween Tannery. They make my favorite leather, and that is their shell cordovan, but I have no affiliation with them. I just think we should probably just ditch the Chromexcel Lottery and call it the Loose Grain Lottery to be a little bit more accurate, and it's a better representation of what Chromexcel or Horween is producing, because they are producing some of the best leathers in the world. And I feel like calling it the Chromexcel Lottery makes you think there's some inherent problem with Chromexcel leather. That's my spiel. You don't have to listen to me. You don't have to agree with me. That's great. That's what's great about this community, but I just want to give you my opinion with that. So what's the verdict? What do I think of the Viberg service boot? Goodyear welted or stitched down, I have the same conclusion. How I feel about Viberg is when I wear this shoe, it feels like an amazingly well-built shoe. How I kind of see Viberg is someone who went and they put together a shoe and they didn't think about costs. They just thought about what they wanted to put in the shoe to make it the very best. Then once they did it, they put a price to it. That's how I feel. While I love my Grant Stones, I love other boots that aren't nearly as expensive, these are worth the cost. Absolutely. They're expensive, they'll last a lifetime. The clicking, like I mentioned with the Chromexcel Lottery thing, the clicking is just perfect. You'll rarely find a lot of creases on a pair of Viberg boots unless they were just really abused. So yes, I think they're worth it. I think they're fantastic boots. You know, you are paying a lot of money, but you're gonna have the boot for a long time. And a little bit of it is just the name brand, right? You pay a little bit for the name brand, but having the Viberg boot is something that you can even resell for a good amount if you need to. So that is part of the value. And the fact that you can just get them online. There's a big selection online. So of course, with high quality boots, there's handmade boots, there's gonna be custom built to your foot. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about what you can buy online. I think this is the best boot you can buy. That's something you can just go basically on an online store and pick up. I think they're amazing. I think they're great boots. Let me know what you think of these boots in the comments below. I'll be doing some comparisons to some other popular brands so we can really see how they stack up. And I really do think you're gonna see that they're worth it even when you compare it to other brands that are quite a bit less expensive. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe if you'd like, and I'll see you on the next one.